Good afternoon, Kitsap County. I'm Ash Black, and today you're watching Afternoons with Ash. Today I have a truly remarkable guest joining us, someone whose story and accomplishments are nothing short of inspirational, not just for all of us here in Bremerton, but especially for young women across our county and beyond. Her remarkable journey from serving in the U.S. Navy to being the first Black woman to be elected to lead Bremerton's own municipal court is a testament to resilience, determination, and breaking barriers. Her story is one of rising to challenges and shaping a better future for the community. For every young girl watching today, especially those right here in Kitsap County, my next guest story is a testimony to the fact that no dream is too big and no goal is out of reach when you have the courage to pursue it. Whether it's her work on the bench or her commitment to educating our youth through the County Youth and Law Forum, my next guest is paving the way for future generations. She's showing us all that leadership, integrity, and empathy are the keys to creating lasting change. It's an honor to have my next guest on the show today to talk about her journey, her community initiatives, and how we can all work together to build a brighter future. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Judge Tracy Flood. Judge Tracy Flood, thank you so much for joining me today.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
I am truly blessed to have you on the show today. I think your story is remarkable, and we're very honored to have someone like you living, working for the people of Bremerton and the community of Kitsap County. And I wanted to invite you out today because you're doing a lot of special things right now, and I really wanted to draw attention to that, specifically the countywide Youth and Law Forum that we have coming up on October 5th, but also your remarkable story. And that's one thing that made me want to reach out to you. I had actually been privy to a story recently about Ketanji Jackson Brown and her appointment to the U.S. Supreme Court, and why that was such a remarkable story to be the first Black woman to be elected as a Supreme Court judge. And I noticed that there were a lot of parallels in her story and your story as well. But it started somewhere else, and you've had a long journey to come here. So I was wondering if, for our viewers, you could tell us a little bit about yourself, the young Tracy Flood, and how you rose to the municipal bench here in Kitsap County.
Yes, thank you, Ash. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. And interestingly enough, I arrived in Kitsap County because I was in the Navy, active duty military, and was transferred out to Bangor Sub Base, my last active duty base, and then I had reserve time with PSNS at the time before they became joint bases, and grew up and went to school in Chicago, Go Cubs. So and went to school at Lane Tech on the north side of Chicago, just a few blocks away from Wrigley Field. But I joined the Navy at 16. So I've been here in Kitsap County since I was 19. So I feel a lot of connection as far as my growth, pretty much my entire adult career beyond the Navy has been here in Kitsap County. And a part of that was being in the Navy and going to Olympic College at night and being a part of the campus and eventually becoming a day student and becoming involved with student government there. I was actually the graduation speaker for my class at Olympic College. But I was blessed, and I am blessed to have been in the presence of a lot of our historical and individuals, African-American individuals that have been a part of the Bremerton history and our rich history that we're now seeing in Quincy Square as icons on the wall. I got to spend time with them. I was just the kid, though, 19, 20, trying to figure it out. but having them around in my life, Al Colvin, um, Alice Eakins, having them being present and knowing me prior to law school and then doing my journey of law school, the encouraging words, the support that I received played a big part in where I am today. So I went to the University of Washington, the main campus, and Seattle, commuted via ferry. There isn't a ferry. I think there may be 2 ferries I haven't been on in the state. Um, and finished up my degree there, went to work for the state at Green Hill School. I also was a juvenile rehabilitative counselor there and a crisis counselor through Gateway, a nonprofit organization that was a part of group homes for the youth. So my passion, my work, the things that I've done has always been centered around youth. And I tie that to my first job in Chicago when I was a tutor at the age of 13. And I was tutoring kids that were in high school that struggled with reading, but they were involved with sports, so they were passed. But my passions center around, my values of commitment to community. I, after working for a year, I went on to Seattle University School of Law. Was pregnant my first year with Miss Anna Sophia, my daughter, who is will be defending her dissertation next year for her doctorate at the University of Illinois Champaign. She went to Gateway Christian Schools, which had been a part of King's West, was King's West and a part of King's Schools out of Seattle, on a full ride scholarship to Fisk University. So my focus and love has always been knowing that our children are our future. Without them, we're hopeless because the human race can't carry on. And if we don't invest in them, then all of our communities will fail. So my heart has always been for the children. And being in this position, being the first elected Black woman judge in Kitsap County, it's unfortunate that it's taken this long, but I am happy that the community placed their trust in me and saw my commitment to community, and that Bremerton is my community, and that I've raised my daughter here, and I'm committed to making sure that revolving door that we see in the criminal justice systems is interrupted.
That kind of leads me to my second question, which does revolve around the level of progress that has been made, because there's a lot of weight, I think, that exists on both sides of that line when we use the terms first Black woman judge. There's a lot of pride that comes with the change and the fact that we're seeing that happening now in our democracy, especially here in Bremerton. But there's also a lot of weight on those words, Black woman. Tell me a little bit about that experience for you and what it means to fulfill those shoes.
It's a very heavy burden. The weight on my shoulders is great because I carry the weight of the community. It's just not me as an individual. It's me as a community, me as a leader amongst women, amongst our young African American children, our entire BIPOC community, because we're the underrepresented in Kitsap. We're the underserved. I think sometimes we get caught up in privilege once you have received your credentials, your schooling, your education, um, that we can sometimes forget the importance of relationships and the weight that I carry is to continue on those relationships. I have a duty to keep my courtroom open, to have the children in, to be able to have access. So one of the things that I have been able to do is have students in from all of our school districts, um, from Bremerton High School, from Catalyst, from Central Kitsap, because I feel that it's not just Bremerton.
Right.
Individuals come before me that live all over the county. And so when I'm looking at how the criminal justice system affects families, it's important to be able to talk to our children and to give them information that is not coming from a negative viewpoint, but it's coming from a positive experience.
And let's talk about that a little bit. So we've got the Countywide Youth and Law Forum that's coming up here on October 5th. We have a very special guest, Jesse Jones. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the Countywide Youth and Law Forum and former state representative Jesse Jones' involvement and why it's so important that the community come out and involve themselves with this project.
Well, first, I want to say that former representative commission, legislative representative actually has local ties to the Bremerton community. His wife used to be the president of our NAACP Youth Council. So she lived here and went to school here. And also, they're both Huskies, like myself. So part of the Youth and Law Forum, and this is our second year doing it. So last year was our first year. And the conversation around this Youth and Law Forum goes back to Bishop Robertson. So I had been involved with the Pierce County Minority Bar Association, and they had been an annual facilitator in that Youth and Law Forum for over 10 years. And I always said, why can't we do this in Kitsap? This is something that we need. This is something the kids can enjoy. This is something that's learning, is positive. So I've done them on a smaller scale in the courthouse, but also I, again, had been in conversation with Bishop Robertson about how can we bring this to the Kitsap County Peninsula. And so upon being elected, I reached out to the Minority and Justice Commission, and they're one of our sponsors, and said, I want to bring this over to Kitsap. And so last year was our first year to be able to do it. This is our second year. The Minority and Justice Commission is, again, a sponsor for us this year. And so we're going to continue this on, and I'm looking to, in the future, dedicate it and have a dedication to have it, like the Charles V. Johnson one in Seattle, this be the Bishop Robertson's dedicated to his honor and his vision, like the Marvin Williams Center. And that's where we're going to be at the Marvin Williams Center for a place for youth in what's considered the West downtown area of Bremerton, which has had a lot of growth. And the messaging that we're bringing is that it's peace. We're talking policing and community and educating our community about great conversations, about not being afraid of the police, about trust, and having strategies that our youth can know when you encounter police, you don't need to be afraid, but also having the law enforcement come in so that they become familiar with our community and not target individuals. And when I say not target, individuals feel targeted, whether that's happening or not. And in order to change those feelings, in order to build that trust, we have to have these conversations. Part of that also is know your rights. So we have a pamphlet that we kind of, it's like a little game that will be gone through. We will have Juvenile Justice Jeopardy, just like the Jeopardy game on TV, with the buzzers, the sounds, the queuing up. Really cool. Last year, I think I was more excited than the kids playing the game. But it's a wonderful time to learn about, the meanings behind possession, behind driving while license suspended. All of these things encounters, but you're engaging in definitions. You're engaging in what do you do, and you're giving you the choices. And the youth will be in teams with adults. We'll have a kind of breakout bingo game where they'll play and ask questions and engage in conversation about careers. And the key for me in bringing former Representative Johnson over was he was the youngest elected legislator. So introducing kids to young people in careers and letting them know you can have this career as well. And it's important to introduce our young people to individuals that look like them, so that they can see that they can have careers in areas that have gone underrepresented. And the legislative office in itself, the role that it plays in the criminal justice system is very important. So that's the connection, and having him come and be our keynote for our program.
How eager would you say, the judiciary and our police here in the area are to make that connection with the youth and with endangered populations? How can you speak to that?
So a big part of before coming onto the bench was me being past president of the NAACP. And we engaged in an annual, and they still do engage in an annual conversation and dinner with law enforcement to make those connections. And the State Patrol, Kitsap County Sheriffs, Bremerton Police have all been involved with the many trials that I've had for youth, many kind of form of the Youth and Law Forum in the courts. The State Patrol's been there with a K-9 and done a K-9 presentation. So their outreach, and former Police Chief Steve Strahan, who is the executive director of the, I'm going to mess it up, but the police chiefs and all of them in Olympia, he has made a focus on outreach. And I believe that our law enforcement agencies have done a better job in doing outreach. Not everybody believes in the resource officers, but what we're seeing here in Bremerton is the uniqueness of the willingness to make those connections and to build trust and to have hard conversations, because that's what it takes, is hard conversations. It's one thing to put it out there, oh, I don't like the police or things like that, but it's another thing to do the work. And that's what I'm here for, to do the work. Not everybody is gonna like what you're doing, but if what you're doing is really benefiting the community, that's what should be looked at, not whether I like you or I don't like you.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. People get into their emotions, they get into their feelings. And I believe since COVID, we've had a real sense of seeing that more people are dealing with depression, how they handle stress, that returning to the workplace, there's a lot of pushback in that, but also just the reality of things have changed. The political climate has put a hard pull on relationships, family relationships, dynamics that at one time you could have conversations at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Now people avoid conversations. But how do we bring those conversations back in a safe space? And I believe events like this, our annual dinner with the law enforcement, provides those spaces to be able to have these conversations where our community is benefiting from them.
I agree. And, you know, I really applaud the work that you're doing with the Countywide Youth and Law Forum. The fact that you were able to bring Jesse Jones into this is amazing. And all the work that the Bremerton Police Department is doing with you to make that connection with the youth and try to repair some of the damage that's, happened over the years. You mentioned the police dinner, which is also coming up. So let's talk about a little bit of the work that you do with the NAACP. I was fortunate enough to join you at an annual event recently, and there was a larger than life, should I say, presence in the room. And the most interesting thing about this particular character that I want to introduce us to next is that he's actually passed away, but he's still very much with
Yes.
us today. And you have a lot to do with that. But who I'm speaking of in particular is Mr. Roosevelt Smith, a civil rights worker and former member of Kitsap Mental Health, I believe.
Yes. The Arts Commission as well.
And I was very fortunate to enjoy a montage of some of his work at the NAACP event, and to watch his face be put up down at Quincy Square. And you guys had a lot to do with that. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit on the subject, what it was like to bring that to life down at Quincy Square, and what it means to honor such a amazing leader here in our community.
So Quincy Jones giving us permission to utilize his name for Quincy Jones Square goes back to the former mayor, Patty Lent. And at that time, I was a signer on the original letter to have that project come to fruition. And it's, as we know, when you're dealing with government, it takes a while to get things done. But the beauty in that is being able to see the first part of that project where the Q and the T went up on the new construction apartments, and then right next to that on the parking structure where we have the murals. And it's just been an amazing journey to be able to be a part of this history that is being made, and that this is living and breathing history, and the stories that are told from the art perspective in that mural. For me, being able to have our Congressman Kilmer, who is finishing out his term, get a congressional letter for Roosevelt Smith was something that I felt was needed, and all of the contributions he's made to our community. He's a veteran as well, served his country, and worked very heavily on the renaming of the library downtown Bremerton to the Martin Luther King Jr. Library. And that's something that had taken years to have been done, because not only did you have the city of Bremerton's part, but you had the library's part as well. So that was actually the last public appearance that he made, and we were able to get a video that kind of portrayed that for the family. And for me, again, he's a part of that history where being able to be in his presence meant a lot to me personally. He attended city council meetings and was not afraid to speak up when he saw the injustices that were being done in those city council meetings. And a lot of people are afraid, and he was not. And to his art displays in the art museum and the telling of the history of Bremerton's rich history in his voice and presenting that will be truly missed. So I have had the benefit personally of being able to spend time with him and be honored by his words of wisdom. And that will be, that's a giant, a legend that we will all miss.
We have the police dinner coming up. Real quickly, if you could, why don't you tell me when that's happening in addition to the October 5th event, the Countywide Youth and Law Forum, and what's your vision for the future, Tracy?
Okay. So our next event coming up for the court, the NAACP, the Tacoma chapter of Links, and the Minority and Justice Commission is our Youth and Law Forum on October 5th. That October 5th date is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll have our youth at Marvin Williams Center again this year. So I encourage all of you parents who have kids, if you're not doing anything that day, come by. And even if you're doing something, if you can only come by for part of the time, it would be worth your time to come by. And then the annual law enforcement dinner is the first Friday in December, and that date escapes me, but it's the first Friday in December, and that event is a invitation only event for law enforcement and members of the community. It's not an event where there's usually any elected officials. That's providing a conversation over dinner with members of the State Patrol, all of our law enforcement agencies all over the county, Kitsap sheriffs, Bainbridge Island, Posebo, Port Orchard, Bremerton. So in that room is law enforcement from all of these agencies having dinner and engaging in a conversation of how can we make our communities better and stronger. What I see for the future of Bremerton is a lot of growth, a lot of changes, and there's still a fraction of individuals that don't want to see change. They fight against change every day, and that's real. And people need to understand that sometimes you can speak to an issue without knowing all of the facts, and that doesn't do anyone any good. It just harms overall. And I think that understanding that as a elected judge, all of our elected judges in our counties are in service positions. We're here in public service. We're doing public service. I've had the pleasure in my life to meet Justice Sotomayor and now Justice Kadaji Brown Jackson. And I'm humbled because of that experience. Both I've been able to be in conversation with. And we are all just human beings trying to make sure our communities are safe and our country is safe and wanting to come home to our families. But this work is very isolating. I don't get to engage in conversations like I did beforehand. And that makes us easy targets as judges. You have seen more and more attacks on judges on TV, more judges being assaulted, killed. And there are a lot of things that the media doesn't see and doesn't display. So this is a very dangerous job also. And people should understand that.
Tracy, thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate everything you do, and I'm looking forward to coming out to the Countywide Youth and Law Forum on the 5th. And I can't thank you enough for being here today and sharing your story with me and my viewers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Today's conversation has been a powerful reminder of what's possible when we lead with courage, integrity, and a commitment to our community. Judge Tracy Flood's work in law and her efforts to engage and educate our youth are laying a foundation for a stronger, more connected Kitsap. To every young woman watching today, let Tracy's story be a reminder that no dream is too big and no barrier too strong when you're pursuing your goals with passion and perseverance. Whether it be in law, leadership, or any field that you choose, there's a place for you to make a difference. I really want to thank Judge Flood for joining us and sharing her incredible journey today. Be sure to support initiatives like the County Youth and Law Forum. It's going to be taking place on October 5th. It happens from 10 to 2. It's at the Marvin Williams Center on 725 Park Avenue here in Bremerton. And take some time to visit Quincy Square to experience the mural and honor our local heroes like Roosevelt Smith. And while we're talking about community support, I encourage everyone to get involved with the Kitsap Community Foundation. They work tirelessly to connect people with causes that matter across Kitsap and North Mason counties. They're also helping local nonprofits make a bigger impact. And lastly, I want to give a special shout out to Rose and Bloom, a newly founded nonprofit right here in our community that empowers young girls through mentorship, career development, and life skills. If you're looking for ways to help shape the next generation of strong, confident women, I urge you to check them out. As always, thank you for watching Afternoons with Ash. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, or right here on Comcast, we're so glad you're with us. Catch us next time for another exciting episode. Until then, stay inspired and keep building your community. You can find all of our episodes on our YouTube channel and catch the live broadcasts on BCAT, as well as all the extras at Afternoons with Ash Black on Facebook. Thank you.